What's good, everybody? You hear the guitar riff, so you must know what time it is. Hopefully, Philly's not having a seizure over under the screen. It's the Scarf, J.R. Liebert, and it's the night before a match, so it's time for one more sleep. It's a little bit later than you and I had planned on this, sir. I am simply Scarf, and to my left is Philly Mignon.
Philly Mignon, yep. Not having a seizure. Just doing my best rendition of air guitar. I'm in that rock and roll kind of mood. Sport my Iron Maiden t-shirt. Got a good half hour or so playing guitar in while I was waiting for you. So love rocking out. And filet mignon, let's put it this way. Panda had a very bad name for me on here. Something that rhymed with
wait a minute. We could just be subtle. It's fine.
All right, something that rhymed with Horatio. Horatio.
So much for being subtle.
Yeah, so I had to change it, and the quickest thing I could think of was the nickname that my dad had during his investment banking days. They referred to him as Filet Mignon, obviously the last name being Philemon, Filet Mignon, Philemon. You get the point. Filet Mignon, there you have it.
You sure you're not having a seizure right now, bud?
Right there, I certainly had some verbal diarrhea. That's for sure.
My goodness. Hey, you know what, though? It's time for one more sleep, and this is a matchup that wasn't on our schedule at the start of the year, that's for sure. But it's quickly become a very anticipated matchup. Obviously, when we're playing Carson, it's always going to be a thing. This one in the round of 16 of the U.S. Open Cup, and you and I, my friend, have kind of gone back and forth. You've got one way of thinking about this match. I've got another way of thinking about this match. But either way, it's a chance at a trophy. I get it, right? The U.S. Open Cup. But I don't know, Philly. Maybe it's me, but I'm looking 9 days up the road at a very important match in Guanajuato at Estadio León.
I mean, yes, without a doubt, that's the most important match on our calendar. I will not disagree with you there. But I have to ask you, regardless of whether it's the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup, would Manchester City ever take it lightly on Manchester United? No. Would Bayern Munich ever take it easy on Borussia Dortmund in the Pokal? No. Would Juventus ever take it easy and correct their accounting books and not lose 10 points in Serie A? No. The point is, this is our biggest rival. And while, yes, the game against León is important, as you know, you can't look beyond tomorrow without focusing on today. Today, we focus on playing against our heated and hated rivals. And they're certainly going through a great deal of turmoil. And I'm going to address my feelings about that regardless. But you are more focused on León, and I get your point of view, and we'll talk about that. But I want to smash our biggest rival at every single opportunity that we can get. I want to eliminate any shred of dignity from them and their sports park.
All right, so I am going to take the Eminem and 8 Mile approach, and I'm going to throw out everything that could be thrown at me, and I agree. I want to stop there and say, what I'm about to say, I agree. I 100% understand that this is Carson, that this is the team that we never take a day off against. I get it. I also 100% agree that it's a match at home. It's at BMO. So we have to defend the bank. That's what we do. That's what you and I are all about from the very beginning. And I 100% agree that it's an opportunity for another trophy. A trophy we've come close, semifinals first year, 2018, quarterfinals before as well. A trophy to put in our trophy case. And I'm not worried about catching the number of trophies Galaxy has or Seattle has or whatever. I'm just worried about filling our case as fast as we possibly can. So I agree with all of those things. However, there's one thing I'm concerned about coming into this match, and that's injuries. And I'll be honest, I'm never more concerned about injuries than when we play against the only club in MLS with single-digit points and single-digit fans in their supporters section. The only thing I am worried about, let's say we're up, let's say we're down, doesn't matter what the score is, but 85th minute, I'm real worried about a player coming in from behind and maybe taking the legs out of a Denny Bouanga or taking the legs out of a Kellen Acosta or a Carlos Vela or, I don't know, you name it. Cheeky Palacios, Ryan Hollingshead. How far down the list do we want to go? Do we want to lose any of those players to be able to not play In the Champions League, first leg and second leg, May 31st, June 4th.
I get what you're saying. You run that risk anytime the players hit the pitch.
Yep.
And we're fortunate that we don't have a game over the weekend. It's this game on Tuesday, and then it's down to Leon. We get something very rare this season, 8 days off. That's plenty of time for recovery, barring any kind of injury, of course. That is more than enough time for professional athletes to rehab and get themselves back and ready. Again, this is our biggest rival. The last thing we would want to give them is any kind of hope to come into our house and push us around. The Galaxy is going through an awful lot of hell this season, from the top down all the way to the bottom. This is a club that, well, in my opinion, deserves to be where they are, because their pretentiousness and their reactiveness have allowed them to be and enabled them to be in this situation. They didn't fear us when we came into the league. They thought we would be another train wreck like Chivas USA was. We were not. They mocked us. They laughed at us. They called us choke artists. We can never beat you, yada, yada, yada. And yet we not only have beaten them 3 straight games and in positions to where it mattered within postseason, we've claimed this city, and more importantly, we've claimed Major League Soccer. The Galaxy are the laughing stock of Major League Soccer right now, and they deserve it. From that minute you and I went to that meeting with their head of marketing, Brendan, right, all the way to their loser, tough guy, keyboard warrior, Twitter folk, this is a team that deserves to be where they are. And quite honestly, just like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, finish him. I don't want to give nothing more to them, and they will not come in our house and push us around. I want to annihilate and hurt this team. And look, this is the last straw. I think their fans want it too. We destroy them, whether it be with our starters or whether it be with our kids. They want to change. And the biggest change can occur if we absolutely annihilate and humiliate them, which I certainly hope we do tomorrow.
Listen, I completely agree. I won't throw out there the fact that our LAFC 2 lineup beat Monterey Bay FC, because I don't compare Monterey Bay FC to Carson or, really, let's be real, any other Major League Soccer team. They've got a couple of guys who played a handful of matches in Major League Soccer, and that's about it. I think that my worry about the injuries extends as far as maybe our top 6, 7, 8 players. I don't know who the long-term or short-term solution is for a Cheeky Palacios. I know it's probably Sergi Palencia, but who's healthy on the back line? Is it Danilo Maldonado? Is Giorgio Chiellini even off of the injury report for the first time? Is Murillo ready to go? Is Aaron Long ready to go? So there's questions on the back line. We know what we get out of Ryan Hollingshead. We know what we get out of Sergi Palencia. Those guys have been fantastic for us this season. But the back line is a question. John McCarthy, coming off of that shoulder injury, who still hasn't looked 100% just yet, he's a question mark. And I'll be honest, I want to save him to make sure he's even better to go, if we can, in 9 days against Leon. Looking at the midfield, I absolutely love Eric Duenas. Eric Duenas has been a superstar. Put him out there. Let's go. Let's play Jose. If Jose Cifuentes is leaving July 1st, I'll be the first to say it. Let's run as much tread off of that tire as we possibly can. Get Jose Cifuentes out there. Get Eric Duenas out there. And you really got to make a decision. Do you want to risk an injury to our most important player in Ilie Sanchez? Do you want to risk an injury to the U.S. men's national team star and a guy who has really been key for us this season in Kellen Acosta? Or is it Timothy Tillman, the superstar out of nowhere, who's really become the focal point of a lot of teams' defense in the midfield? And then obviously Philly. I don't need to bring up Carlos Vela, Denny Bouanga. We know what this club would look like without Denny Bouanga. It would be a shell of itself. And we know what this club has looked like without Carlos Vela. Those are just the questions I'm throwing out there, Philly. I'm all for it. 90 minutes, though? I don't know if we play our guys 90 minutes.
Big clubs have big-time mentalities. You take the Barcelonas and the Bayern Munichs of the world, because very few teams have won every given trophy that they've had an opportunity to compete in. Those two clubs have accomplished it. Bayern most recently in 2020. That's how a big club thinks. They want to be greedy. They want all these trophies. We're in a very unique environment for ourselves personally and locally within Major League Soccer and, of course, within LAFC. It was always the focus for MLS Cup, Supporters Shield, US Open Cup, so on and so forth. But now we've got Champions League. Now we've got Leagues Cup. We also have the Campeones Cup. Let's not forget that. Quite honestly, you said you want to fill the trophy cabinets? Absolutely. You just manage. I'm not saying like it's easy, but we obviously manage the minutes of the players intelligently. Look at what happened last game around. You started a lot of the young guys. We started what? A couple 19-year-olds, a couple 20-year-olds, very young kids, and they made a very competitive match against San Jose. And then later on in the game, you put in the big guns, the triple threat. Shout out to our friend Heather for coining that term. I mean, we've got really good players, and we don't need to run them to the ground. But I think we will see a spattering of both LAFC 2 players and some regular starters. And at some point, I firmly believe that we are going to put the pedal to the metal and, like a game of Mortal Kombat, finish him. That's what we're going to do. Seattle Sounders really took it to the Galaxy in the Open Cup. And this was a Seattle Sounders team that was pretty much their MLS Next side and their C squad, and they gave them a game. You want to talk about, continuing to throw kerosene on the fire? We'll talk about a Molotov-style cocktail getting thrown on that burning bus if the LAFC 2 players stick it to the Galaxy. Players are going to play the way they're going to play. And from what I'm gathering, people aren't happy with Vanny. If the players don't want Vanny there anymore, then they just give up altogether and then just throw the game, which I think they'll do. But I do think that we have a significant opportunity to establish ourselves against them. Like, they still have the better record against us. If we win tomorrow, we would have beaten them 7 times, drawn against them 7 times, and beaten them 7 times, lost to them 7 times, and drawn against them, I believe, 6 times.
Yep.
So I want to win more than anything. 8 days off, plenty of time to recuperate.
All right, I'll say one last thing. What we need is for your prediction from a couple of matches ago to come true. Something that LAFC has not been known for throughout their course of the last couple of years has been scoring early. But our last four matches, the latest our first goal has come was Christian Torres in the 25th minute of the Monterey Bay match. We've scored in the 3rd minute, the 8th minute, and the 13th minute in our last 3 MLS games. So I'm liking if we can get out to an early lead. If we can get out and go up 1-0, 2-0 in the first 45 minutes, then I really feel like Steve Cherundolo can play with things a little bit, maybe figure out a way. Look, I think the worst thing we can do, right, is to change our shape and play a different system. I get it. But, man, the only thing I would hate is for 1 or even 2 of our big names to get hurt going into this Champions League 2-legged final. But I'll be the lightning rod. I'm fine. I'll say it. I really do want to play the young kids, but I agree with you. I totally believe there'll be a smattering of first team guys in there as well, because you're absolutely right. The league has moved games out of the way for this so that we can have 8 full days of rest. And providing that they are healthy after this Carson match, 8 days. Steve Cherundolo said it in the press conference, right? 8 days, plenty of time. So with that, let's take a look at our players to watch for this match. I'll go first, and I said it. We need to run the tread off of the tires. That is Jose Cifuentes if he is going to be leaving us July 1st. And I think, Philly, you and I are on the same page. We both think he will be leaving us July 1st. So you got Jose Cifuentes for us. This is the match where I am ready to see full Jose Cifuentes. I am ready to see that locked in, engaged player for 90 minutes that we saw great glimpses of last match. You and I were both pleasantly surprised, Philly, at Jose Cifuentes and the way he played last match. And I have to be honest, I think, speaking of tread being off of the tires, I'm not worried about Chicharito. I know about Dejan Joveljic. And of course, everybody knows about Ricky Puig, the best player on the pitch the last time we played each other. However, there is going to be one salty dude on the back line for Carson, and that's the young kid, Jalen Neal, who was denied by Carson a chance to go to the Under-20 Club World Cup with the United States. I would be so pissed if I were him And I think we're going to see either an incredible effort for Jalen Neal or an effort that reminds the Galaxy, you let players go to those type of things because it's a once in a lifetime deal.
What a clown car organization, not allowing their player to represent his national team. I mean, that's something that our club preached. Like, you want to represent your national team and you want to play for a club that's going to encourage that. Do they really need Jalen Neal that bad to deny this young man a perfectly good opportunity to represent his country? But then again, it's a clown car running down in Carson. So that's the story there. As far as my players to watch are concerned, this was a really tough call because I have no clue who's going to be playing in this game for LAFC. In the press conference, Steve said that the game against San Jose had no bearing as to like who was played and who's not going to play in this game against the Galaxy on Tuesday. But that being the case, if we're going to use a smattering of those LAFC2 players, somebody that's played with a lot of confidence, somebody that did quite well in his first start at home, Eric Dueñas.
Ooh.
Eric Dueñas. If we're going to have a smattering of the LAFC2 players, give this kid an opportunity to play against our biggest rivals. Other than the one play where he gave it up to Abobasi on that rough first touch, he played a great game. He was solid. So if we're going to use any LAFC2 players, I want to keep my eyes on this young kid because he's playing with confidence. Talk about a chip on the shoulder. Here's a young man who's had a season and change of an ankle injury, and now he's starting to come on solidly. That's the story with LAFC. With the Galaxy, I expect them to throw all of their best players at us because that's just what they're going to do. And you said it earlier on. Their best player is Ricky Pooch. In the last game that we had against them at Dignity Health Sports Park, this kid is really what made that engine roar. He's a great player. He's a great facilitator. He's a tiny guy who plays big. I personally like the kid, and if he wasn't playing for such a crap club, I would be a much bigger fan of his. But since he wears that Herbalife sash, yuck. That's all I have to say, but I respect the hell out of his game.
There was a little bit of me that thought instead of picking the low-hanging fruit that you might go with Raheem Edwards just to spend a couple of minutes talking smack about Raheem Edwards again. But I love the Ricky Pooch pick, obviously. And look, I called for it earlier, and you're on the same page. Dueñas should start this match. I really hope he does. Look, the keys to the match are simple. I'm going to kind of play off Philly's player to watch. You got to box Puig. And not literally, right? I don't want to give him a little left or right and an uppercut. No, what we need to do is put four guys around him at all times. You play your one guy back, and you just try to put that spy on Ricky Pooch at all times. He is an incredibly dynamic playmaker. You got to find a way to get the ball off of his feet as quickly as possible and not let him touch that ball. That's all the Galaxy have been trying to do this season, is to get the ball into Ricky Pooch. So it's much easier said than done. But I am not any more confident in anyone else's game wearing that Herbalife sash than I am Ricky Pooch. And look, man, seriously, no injuries. Everyone should be playing as hard as they possibly can, because the minute you play not to get hurt is absolutely the minute that injuries happen. But last time I said no injuries, that's when John McCarthy landed on his head. Kellen Acosta had to come out for a little bit. Aaron Long looked a little gimpy. Yeesh. Maybe, look, if people get hurt after this, hashtag blame Scarf. I need to just stop saying no injuries. But for me, the most important thing in this match is that everybody leaves the match healthy.
I love it. Absolutely. Without a doubt, no injuries. We can't really afford them at this rate, nor do we ever wish them upon anybody. And as much as, we have a rivalry with this club that we're about to play on Tuesday, I would never wish an injury upon anybody on the opposing team. Can't say the same about that idiot fan base, because I saw a ugly tweet about somebody suggesting, let Bwanga play so he could break his legs.
Yep.
That's the type of BS that disgusts me. And that's also coming from the same type of person who's probably never thrown a punch in his life. Anyways, moving on. My keys to the game, they're very blanketed because I have no idea who we're playing. It's quite simple. Play hard. That's the thing against your biggest rivals. Play hard. This is the most important game on your calendar right now. Forget Leon. for the time being. You put the focus on the Galaxy. You play hard. You play like this game matters, because it really does. It's bragging rights, and it's the ability to advance within the U.S. Open Cup, a trophy that has evaded us since the start. Play hard. And just as importantly, limit the number of mistakes. Doesn't matter if we control possession all game long. If we have a couple of lapses in judgment and they punish us, that's how we will lose this game. We had a couple of lapses in that game at Dignity Health Sports Park, but we're lucky that the Galaxy suck and couldn't convert their opportunities. We don't want to give them any kind of opportunity, so we limit our mistakes. And as I mentioned, we go Cobra Kai, no mercy. We go Ivan Drago on Apollo Creed when he was on the ropes, no mercy. Absolutely no mercy given. You respect the opponents off the pitch as much as you want, but on the pitch, we demand that you go out there and obliterate the competition. And that's by playing your game and limiting the amount of mistakes.
Look, it's hard to argue with those two, that's for sure. Look, I don't know who we're going to start, right? You don't know who we're going to start. Steve Cherundolo said he didn't even know who we were going to start until at the end of today. And he didn't call you, and he didn't call me. So we don't know.
I was going to wear my Hanover 96 jersey. I was going to tell Steve to pop on, but, we don't do this live.
I know, right? I don't know who's going to start, but I know that we have guys who can finish. Even against Monterey Bay FC, we wound up putting 2 and then getting some PKs on. I don't think Eldin Jakupovic is going to score in this match. But what I do think is that 2 players from LAFC are going to score in this match. Can't tell you who they are. I have no idea. But I think we're going to win 2-1. I think it is going to be an incredibly hard-fought match. I think it is going to morph into kind of what the fourth quarter morphs into in the NBA All-Star game, where all of a sudden these guys start playing defense and the competition ratchets up a little bit. I think this game is going to have to take shape and come into form on its own. It's going to be a really interesting, odd-feeling Carson match, considering so many of us, myself included, are looking forward to the 2-legged affair against Leon. But I just still have a good feeling. The way that Steve Cherundolo prepares any and every player wearing the crest of the black and gold, it just makes me more and more confident every single time out. And he's been pressing all the right buttons this season. He's been making all the right moves in the offseason. John Thorrington, the rest of our front office has been incredible. And I think they prepare us for moments like this when, even though we are stretched thin, and even though we're going to have to go deep into the well to find our starting 11 and 18 that we're planning on seeing minutes in this match, I think we've got the best organization in Major League Soccer, and this is the type of match that will show it.
I couldn't agree further. And we share a lot in common. I think this is going to be a very competitive match. Initially, I do think LAFC are going to come up first and score the first goal of the game. And I really hope early, and quite honestly, I really hope often. I hope we're both wrong on our score predictions. The Galaxy's a wounded club. They haven't scored in their last 2 games. They haven't beaten us in the last 3. They're wounded, but we know a wounded animal is a very dangerous adversary because they've got nothing to lose at this point.
Yep.
This is their MLS Cup. They're playing for a wooden spoon right now, and this is their only opportunity at a Champions League because they're not going to get any better. I don't care if they get rid of Vanny tomorrow and bring in, I don't know, Bruce Arena again. This ship isn't going to turn around. Not this season. So this is their MLS Cup final. That being said, they're going to get on the board right after us. But then in that 65th minute, we're going to call in for reinforcements, and that's when we finish the game off. Hopefully not in injury time with the penalty kick. Hopefully sooner rather than later. But I'm with you, 2-1. I think this is a very conservative prediction, considering the fact that we have no idea who the heck is going to start tomorrow.
It's going to be a fun one. We're going to be in the press for a little bit. We'll be in supporters for a little bit. LAFC, sorry, you couldn't squeeze out the ridiculous prices you were trying to get from us and founders for no amenities, but it's okay. We still love you anyway. It's just literally the first time that I ever felt gouged for ticket prices, but neither here nor there. That being said, everybody is going to focus on the Herbalife Sash once we get in to BMO Stadium, and I think it's going to be an incredibly raucous atmosphere. What we do know, Philly, is no matter who shows up on the pitch, we know that the 3252 will be in full-throated roar, and I can't wait to hear them, can't wait to see them. And again, to the guy who wants to break Denny Bwanga's legs, or the guy who says, oh, I hope they play their starting 11 so we can break Bwanga's legs. That's that small club mentality you guys have been showing all season. So keep it up there, bud. Carson's a small town and you guys are a small club. We play in Los Angeles for a reason.
Being reactive rather than proactive. That's exactly it. That is a reactive approach. And that's from the top, the very top of this organization, down to that loser Twitter guy who calls himself a G. Yeah. Sitting on your mother's couch. You're a real G. Anyways, that made my blood boil seeing that tweet, but that's neither here nor there. Tomorrow we play the Galaxy. Tomorrow we beat the Galaxy. Tomorrow we advance to the next round of the Open Cup, to where we face the winner of really Salty Lake or the Colorado Rapids. And all the pundits on the Golazo Network, all of them think we're going to make it to the final. Some have FC Cincinnati beating us. Thank you, Ian Joy. I like you, but I respectfully disagree with that statement. Other people have Nashville beating us in the final. Some other person, I forget the guy's name, starts with an A on the Golazo Network, has us winning against Cincinnati in the U.S. Open Cup final. Sweet. But obviously, in order to get that far and prove everybody right, we have to beat our opponent. I want to cut off that carotid artery. I want to curb stomp. I want to RKO. I want to knock out. I want to defeat. I just don't want anybody from Galaxy holding their head up high ever again when it comes to us. I want them to fear the Flex and the black and gold and us and coming into BMO Stadium. And the way we do that is by annihilating them, breaking their necks and their backs, but more importantly, their spirits. Tomorrow, we make it even. 7 wins, 7 losses, 6 draws. Now we start to advance and own this rivalry. I am done.
And now we play a cool guitar riff.
If I can find it.
Find the button.